Welcome back to Introduction to Engineering Design. Today we're doing data analysis on our data set from our cube measurements. So I've got 27 measurements representing all of my cubes. To analyze this data, what I want to do is use my data analysis tool pack. So on the data tab, I'll select the data tab in the data analysis button. Once I'm in my data analysis window, I want to choose descriptive statistics and OK. This will ask me for an input range, which I put my cursor in the box and then click on the first cell with data and drag while I'm holding down to my bottom cell. The next question is, where do I want to put my data? I'm going to choose to leave it on the same sheet, so I'm going to click Output Range, put my cursor again in the box, so you'll see how that cursor is flashing. And I'm going to click on a box directly beneath my data. I need to choose Summary Statistics, and then OK. And here I get some data. I'm going to give it a label here, just out of habit, so I'm going to call this Cube Measurements. And you'll see it's calculated for me a mean, a standard deviation, a range, a minimum, and a maximum. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make a histogram. But before I can make a histogram, I need to have some bins, or how we will sort our data. So to create a bin set, I want to go essentially my full range, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. I want to go from my minimum value of 0.7422 to my maximum value of 0.7712 with 10 divisions between them. So that's this range divided by 10. So to compute that, I'm just going to go ahead and write a formula. And I'm going to label this as my interval. And I want it to equal, so I type the equal sign, my range divided by 10. So to do that, let's start talking about where I'm going to start. So you can imagine my data set. I want it to all be within my bin. So I need to go from the minimum range. So the first thing I'm going to do is type an equal sign and select my minimum value, which is right here, 0.7422. And I'll zoom back out a little bit here in a second. When I do that, you'll see that 0.7422 shows up. Now if I wanted to add my interval value, what I would do is just type in 0.0029 right here. And I'm going to write a formula that says the next cell is going to equal to the value above it plus it's going to equal to the value above it plus this interval range. And you'll see that I incremented once. So if I copy my interval, I can now copy my formula. To copy my formula, or to copy anything in Excel, what I do is I come down to this lower right-hand corner of the cell that I'm active in, and I'm going to copy this formula, C30 plus D30. I click on that green box and drag it down, and you'll see the formula copies. Now I want to go from my minimum value now, which is 0.7422, to my maximum value of 0.7712. Now I did it in 10 interval steps, which means I start at my base value, and I had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps. So I've got 11 total bins now. So these are my bins. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight these just so we can keep track of them. My bins are in yellow. Now my data that I'm going to sort into those bins, I'm going to highlight those so it's a little easier for you to see them. That data, let's go ahead and make those blue. So now what I need to do is make a histogram that shows both my data and my bins sorted. To do that, I'm going to select my Data tab right here, my Data Analysis tool pack right there, And now I want to scroll down until I see histogram. select OK. It asks me, what is your range? What are your bins? Where do you want to put your graph? And do you want to make a chart output? So let's start out with our input range. That's our data points, which I highlighted in blue. So I'll select all those. To get my bin range, I put my cursor in the window. You'll see it flashing. And now I scroll down and I select my bins. And that range appears. Now I want to put it on the same sheet that I'm in right now. So I click Output Range button. And then this is what trips a lot of people up. I need to be sure and click my mouse once in that window. Once my mouse is in that window, I can now select anywhere on my graph, and I'll go ahead and choose, or on my sheet, and I'll just choose the cell. And then I'm going to select a chart output. Chart output. So I've got my input range, my bin range, my output range, and chart output. Click OK. And my histogram appears. Now looking at this histogram, it looks like pretty close to a normal distribution, but I've got this one value that's way the heck up here. So let me first start by clicking and selecting histogram and giving it a meaningful title, like cube measurements. And I'm going to go down here and call that side size. You can call it whatever you want, just something other than histogram and bin. So I know from a normal distribution that 95% of my data will fall within plus or minus 2 times my standard deviation. So let me go ahead and highlight my standard deviation over here. And I'm going to deal with my mean. And I'm going to go ahead and make that a nice light green color, and my standard deviation also. So what would be my minimum and my maximum value, or my smallest cube that I want and the largest cube that I want? I can compute that using a formula, and that formula would be my mean minus 2 times my standard deviation for the smallest. So let me put in an equal sign, click on mean minus 2 times, and then click on my standard deviation cell. So my smallest desired value is 0.7413. My largest, likewise, is going to be equal to my mean plus 2 times the standard deviation, or B36. So I want cubes that fall between 0.741 and 0.7605. Now you'll clearly see as I zoom in that I have one cube right here, that 0.7712, which is well outside of my range. So I want to reject that cube. I would throw that cube away. I can find it up here in my cells, and I'll highlight that one in red. So cube number 14, I would reject that. And what I'd go and do is find a new cube that fell somewhere within my range from 0.7413 to 0.7605. That's all you have to do with your cell data. You want to go ahead and save this, submit it as part of 3.9, take the graph that you created, and copy that into your Word document. That's it. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped.